You know, we've had a rash of those, and we had over an inch of rain this last week. So it is that time of the year when we don't get to see the sun as much as I would prefer. But you know, yesterday evening about dark, it was pretty amazing that the sun came out, and I was talking with a guy, we were looking west here, and it was real cloudy, and the sun came out, and we weren't there for 2 minutes, and the whole sky just, when that sun come out, just cleared off. So I know that the ceiling isn't very thick. You know, I know the clouds, you know, aren't very thick. So there is blue sky up there, and if the sun gets just a little bit of power, it'll burn them off. So that's your weather forecast here today from Charlotte White Mule Winery, and we're just glad to have you aboard here. I missed you the last week or two, but we are back, and glad to be back with you. We hope you've all stayed well. We know that, I know that I had the flu bug last week, and kind of wants to hang around. Not that I'm running fever, but it's kind of going through our kids now and our grandkids. I wonder why that is, Grace. You know, and
it's the season.
It takes a while to make that big circle because there's, you know, we have 9 of the grandkids anymore, and they don't all get things at one time, and they kind of.
We should all just get together. That way, we all get it at the same time.
Well, I think immune systems are different, though. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. I think it makes a difference because, you know, thank goodness Mom don't get sick very often. You know?
That is true.
So anyway, it's good for you to be along with us this morning on KTUI 1560 AM, 94.1 FM, or possibly you're watching live on Facebook. If you are, you will see that I'm joined by Grace this morning and also by Haley Sunfield, who I just met a few minutes ago. She's a young lady that's from Herman. She's a junior in Herman High School, and she's got an interesting story to talk about. She's got passion about what she wants to do. She's got her ducks in a row, in all honesty, but she wants to talk about resource officers in the school, and you know, what a timely thing to be discussing. We went through a lot of things in the last, you know, several years, and you know, kids are our most valued resource, and you know, we need to do all that we can do, Haley, to make sure that, you know, they're safe and that we're doing everything we possibly can to educate them, and you're going to help a lot with that.
Yeah, that's the plan.
Yeah. So tell me about this idea and where it came from.
So the whole idea is I'm trying to get a security resource officer for our high school in our district. And a security resource officer is a law enforcement official who comes in and makes sure that the school is ultimately a safe place. And it all kind of came to me actually over the summer. I was doing a rummage sale for another event that I was going to raise money for. And this guy came in and we started talking, and he pulled up to our high school in a patrol car, and we were kind of freaked out at first because we had no idea what was going on.
So what did I do?
Yeah, like what do we do?
But just point to Grace. He did it, you know.
But he was super sweet and came in and he bought one of our biggest items, which was a bed. He bought a whole bed. But he looked up at our doors and he was looking at it really weird, and I'm like, is there something wrong? Is there like a hinge? What's going on? And he goes, no, it's really weird. This is the first school I've walked into, and there's not any sort of cameras, there's no metal detectors, nothing along those lines. And I'm like, well, we've never had that. All we have is this little doorbell that sits on the outside of our school, and you push the button, and the security or the secretaries let you in, and it opens up. And that's all we have. That's all we've ever had. And he just thought it was so weird, and I'm like, well, why is that weird? Like, this is all I've ever known my entire life. Like, we've always just had that doorbell. And he talked to me, about how he worked at Cuba, the Cuba school district, and how he was a security resource officer there, and how it's really uncommon nowadays for schools not to have a security resource officer. And I thought that was really interesting, especially talking to his wife, because she used to go to Herman High School, and back whenever she was there was the DARE program, and we don't even have that now.
Right.
And like the elementary school students, they do Red Ribbon Week, and that's it. That's all we get. We don't really have anybody there to tell us how our actions can affect the safety of other students. And I think that's one thing that's really important, especially with this day and age and how everything's changing with more school shootings and more drug and alcohol use and more bullying in school districts. It's really important to have somebody there, and that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to get that in our school district.
Oh, it's incredible that you have, come to these conclusions and your foresight. And I absolutely concur with your analogy in regard to where we are today, and that, things need to be done along these lines to make sure that we are properly educating and, doing everything we can in regard to safety to keep our students and our teachers and really anybody, in the public audience safe. And I do recall some of the things like the DARE program. They was in here, and I think that focus was, of course, on drug and alcohol and those particular things. But, they were a resource officer. They were a sustaining resource that, exposed young people to law enforcement. And, I think that's such a positive, situation, Haley, to at least expose the youth other than getting pulled over. Which never happened to us, but exposing the youth to have understanding of law enforcement and what they do, and that they really are there to help to serve you, other than just to tell you when you're doing wrong. And that exposure is critically important.
And that's something that I really want the students to understand. If this does become something for us, I want the students and the faculty to understand that this is not a punishment towards them in any sense of the imagination. It's more so I want to take better action and have better quality care for our students, and so they know that they're safe and that they understand that everybody's actions has consequences. And it's not that I want the faculty to think that they're not doing their job right. That's not what I'm trying to do. I want them to have this resource officer as a resource for them, so they're not constantly feeling like they're being put on a pedestal with their students. And our administrative people, they are amazing, and our principal, Mr. Sitzman, and our assistant principal, Mr. Anderson, they are constantly busy with behavioral issues, and I think that they have enough on their plate. They need somebody else to step in and kind of help out a little bit every once in a while.
I absolutely concur. And one of the elements, I spent some time in government, and myself, and one of the most important aspects of public safety is a community person that people trust. Law enforcement, community policing is the concept there, where someone is there that established a trust line and a trust base with people in the area, that if something is going wrong, or they will see things that are happening, that they have a resource there that they can talk with and let them know what is happening. I mean, we live in a vast area, I mean, sometimes it's not vast enough for me, but I even like it to be, less populated in some degree than it is. But, without having, some community policing or neighborhood watches, there is no way that you can have enough law enforcement, to see what's going on. And our schools are, our schools are products of the area itself, and the kids are the same way that go to the schools. You know what I'm saying? I mean, if they don't, it's not like downtown, you know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? It's, you know, Chicago or in a big city where they walk past, you know, officer after officer, see
Yeah.
cars. A lot of them don't communicate with them
Yeah.
until they have an absolute need,
Yeah.
and then establishing that trust is a hard thing to do.
And that's something our school, we try to focus on, is understanding that there are people out there, but I think having the resource there already is going to be so much easier for students. And it's not just going to be at the high school, we're going to have them at the middle school and elementary school. And our goal is that the elementary students whose parents can't drop them off at school, that resource officer can go and get them to school so we have better attendance. And at the middle school, to show them, you know, how actions that they take when they're younger can have an effect on them in their high school and adult life.
And you know, I would think that the administration and your teachers absolutely is supportive, you know what I'm saying,
yeah,
of this
yeah.
idea. I don't think they should be intimidated by no means, or not
No.
feel in any way
Yeah.
that they're not doing an incredible job, because they are. They are absolutely, you know, the teachers in our area work very, very hard. They're very passionate on what they do. They get paid
Yeah.
very little,
Yeah.
you know, for what they do. And, you know, I know that they would welcome, you know what I'm saying? Someone just there, you know, for safety, security, but just to talk also about what's going on and how can we improve this, you know, particular situation.
Yeah, and one thing that an SRO's job is to do is just to do that, and to talk with teachers about behavioral issues and try to break down to the root of the problem and figure out what can we do to help this student. And in instances of drills and safety precautions that could arise, that's what the SRO is there for. They're there to provide that kind of information to teachers that they wouldn't get in training anywhere else. If you have a law enforcement officer who has potentially seen what has happened in these sort of situations, they have the front point of view. They are going to give it to the teachers how it is, and that's how it needs to be.
And you know, domestic, you know, situations are what they are, and they, you know, they're always prevalent, you know, wherever you go, no matter what the social economic status is, you know, there are always domestic situations, and they're very personal.
Yeah.
You know, you have to have that connection, and you have to have that trust with whatever your help resource is, in order to diffuse those situations or go into a process that helps alleviate those stressors, you know what I'm saying, or those situations that, you know, there. And the way to do that is have that sustaining resource, you know, that is there available. Kids don't like to talk about that stuff all the time, you know, or hardly ever, you know. But if you know this person and you trust them, you're going to start sharing, I think, right?
Yeah, and that's kind of what I have planned is once we get our security resource officer, obviously I'm not just going to throw them into the district and expect kids to just confess everything to this person. I want to do kind of like a meet and greet during one of our study hall times, and just have all the students come into the auditorium and just meet this guy and have a really upfront conversation with this SRO, and him be honest and tell them what he's here for and what he plans to do. And I want the students to feel like they can trust this person, and if they need to have more of a one-on-one meet and greet and do something like along those lines, then more than happy to do it, and just really try to make these students understand that this person is not here for a punishment. And I think that's one of our biggest issues and one of our biggest obstacles, and that's what I discussed with the school board whenever I proposed the idea to them, is trying to get the students on board is going to be our biggest issue, because teenagers are very opinionated. And yeah, it's crazy. But especially ones in my district, and they are not afraid to tell you how it is to your face, and I know that's how it's going to be. And I don't want this SRO to come in and feel like they're being attacked, but I also don't want the students to feel like they can't trust this person either. So it's going to be a fight, I guess. It's going to be kind of difficult, but I think with enough support, it'll get done the way it needs
Well,
to.
and I think you will find that, nobody likes changes.
Exactly, exactly.
Nobody likes changes, and nobody trusts changes because they're not exactly sure how it's going to impact them personally, or
Yeah.
some of the situation, that is going on. But the fight situation, or the discussion, or the deliberation, that will occur, will, I think, lower those anxieties, you know what I'm saying, that kids have, because I think if you can come to the point where you can have frank discussions with each other and get through that first level or two of antagonism, you know what I'm saying, to each other, that you will find that there are a lot of similarities in regard to how you think and what your passions are, and just getting to those and realizing that you're all really trying to do the same
thing,
same thing is important.
Yeah, and that's one thing. Our school is a very traditional school, and we've always had set things, and it's always been the way it is. And I went and I talked to Dr. Neal, who was our superintendent,
Yes.
and he's a newer superintendent. He's been in our district for, I think, a couple of years, but he's still bringing in new things, and that's what I really love, is that we're becoming more open to change. So he's all on board with this. He wants this to happen, because the old district that he worked at, they had a security resource officer and they loved it. So I think our school is starting to get more into the thought of change, and I really like that. And we like having our tradition, and things will always be the same, but if we add this new change, I think it'll be more beneficial than it will hurt our district.
There's no question that those are things, and every school, you don't read about them, all the time, because you're dealing with a lot of times youth, and you can't discuss a lot of names and those things. But there's not a school district anywhere in the state of Missouri that hasn't dealt with, some kind of safety issues. You know what I'm saying, when it comes to students, you know what I'm saying, and the environment that they live in. So it's hard, Haley, for sometimes people like me, that are older, that remember how things was when we grew up, such as, we guys would take we talk about guns at school. Well, heck, we had them hanging in a truck. You know what I'm saying, on the way to school, and maybe shot a coyote or something on the way, and didn't think anything of it. Well, and I still absolutely support all of those, rights in regard to doing those things.
Absolutely.
But also realize that the world is different today. You know what I'm saying? And you don't really want a 30-06 hanging in the back of your truck, unlocked in your parking lot, because things are just totally different, at this juncture, and there is so much anxiety and really hate. I hate to put it that way, but we are emotionally charged. Supercharged, anymore, other than having that reasoning, what I'm saying, of, behind who we are and why we do what we do. We don't spend time for that. The emotions just attack us, or attack everybody, because, I don't know, if social media or just changes, those are all elements, I think, of where we are today.
And that's something I really emphasize to the board whenever I talk to them, is that in a world that's constantly changing, we don't know what the future is going to hold. We don't know where the next incident is going to happen. And with an ever-changing world, we need to have change in our school district, especially to safety, because it is becoming more and more prevalent in rural areas where bad things happen, and we don't want that in our school district. And if we have somebody there who knows how to handle a situation and who knows how to take care of it, then we're going to be better off. And that's ultimately what I want, is for our school district to just be a safer place.
And that's what we all want. We all want our communities to be safer, and in order to achieve that overall goal, we have to all abide by different changes in order to keep the security and the safety, you know, as we've always had it. And we are blessed, very much so, to live where we live and, you know, be surrounded, you know, by great communities and great people in those, you know, situations. You know, I wouldn't want to change at all.
Exactly.
And most people wouldn't from where we are. But that said, we still have an obligation to do all that we can do, you know, to you know, to make safety our top priority. And you know, the intervention that these resource officers can do, you know, just about talking to the kids about drugs and alcohol and those things can be very significant at the right time.
Yeah.
I mean, they can, you know, they can see that maybe something ain't quite right, you know, and maybe, you know, pick up on some things that, you know, there needs to be some interaction or some trust, you know, because we all know that alcohol and drugs are there, and sometimes kids just need somebody to talk with.
Exactly, and that's what we're hoping for. That's what we want. It's more about the students, and you know, I'm doing this whole thing is for a project for FCCLA, but I'm not doing it because I want to win some award or I want to go to nationals, which just happens to be in Colorado. I want to do it because I know my community needs it.
Right.
And I know that the reward of them being safer and happier and in a better place is more than I'm ever going to get from some award that I get from a competition.
So this resource officer, you know, we have to talk about the cost.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? And who will they be responsible to? Will they be, you know, part of the city, you know, charter, where, because law enforcement has to have a governing body, you know what I'm saying, over them, and, you know, in order for them to be a certified officer. Now, I'm not exactly sure what role the school, but either the county or the state, you know, would have to be part of that system in order for them to be part of that. Have you talked about those things at all?
Oh yeah, I went down to Herman City Hall and I got the financial report and the budgeting for the Herman Police Department, and I sat down and I looked over it, and I've looked at where we can pull money from and where we can't, and I did more research on the terms of who's going to pay and who's going to pay that salary for the security resource officer. And my principal sent out a few questions to other schools in the Four Rivers Conference, and they were able to help me out tremendously, and they gave like ratios on what the school pays and what the police department pays. And since our school doesn't go year round, it's only technically a part-time job for a security resource officer. So in some schools it's an even 50-50 split. In some schools it's a 75, and the school pays 75, and then the city pays the rest, and it kind of just depends on what your city wants and how it's going to go forth with that. And
I'm not too sure that we just passed a law enforcement tax in Gascony County, and Gascony County, I think if you haven't, probably should be approached. You know, now part of that tax dollars that we all support does go. Part of that does go to the cities. You know, a portion of that does go to the cities. So there is some funding, you know, that I think it just started recently. You know, I know that it did. So I think there is some funding that hadn't been available before that should be there, you know, to be able to make alliances with the school boards and things in order to achieve you know, that critical part of this, which is funding.
Yeah, and it's funny you brought that up, because that's one of the things that I talked about with the financial department there at Herman City Hall. And right now our task force for Herman Police Department is small. We just filled another position not that long ago, and we still have one open. So they used that money from the tax, and they gave the officers that are already on the force a raise to try to compete with other cities because we're losing officers more than we're
Right.
gaining. And we only had that officer that we hired was the one person who graduated from the academy, and we only had one. That was it. So it's kind of like pulling teeth trying to find where we're going to get the money from. And I've looked at grant opportunities through other clubs and through just various things that I could find, and it's really difficult trying to find where you're going to pull the money from because, as Dr. Neal said, he wants this SRO, and it's a great thing for our school, but he doesn't want to cut other programs and teachers just to have this. And I totally understand that. I would not want that either. But it's just a matter of trying to find where we're going to get the money from, and that's honestly our last obstacle with this whole program.
Well, and I think that's where advocacy, you know what I'm saying, and doing what you're doing here will help, because I think, you know, taxpayers want this to occur.
Yeah.
I don't think you'll find, you know, a taxpayer. I mean, first of all, the law enforcement tax went over overwhelmingly in the county.
Yeah.
That's not just Herman and Owensville and Rosebud, but the entire county. It went over overwhelmingly.
Yeah.
So people have recognized that, and we all need to realize that people are supportive in our area, which is wonderful, of law enforcement.
Yeah.
You know. So they are very supportive of law enforcement, and Herman school districts, as well as, you know, Bland and other school districts in our area. Very seldom is anything that the school brings forward in regard to bonding issues or taxing issues. Even though we're an extremely conservative area, people support the schools.
Yeah, they do.
So, you know, I just think it's a matter of asking the right questions, getting yourself in the right position, you know, in order to get this thing done.
Yeah.
You know, is your school board supportive?
Oh yeah, they're all on board. They are excited for it, and they really want it to be a program at our school. It's just a matter of the money, and that's one of our only real obstacles right now, is trying to find where we're going to get that money from. And it's understandable why they're on board with it, because they see what happens in our school district, and it's coming from not just my standpoint, but our student representative. She sees it too, and she talks about it, and she advocates for it to the school board. And it's a matter of how many times does a student have to come and tell you about the issues before the issues get fixed. And I think they're starting to open their eyes up more to that, is the fact that it's a reoccurring issue and it needs some kind of.
Now, would there be one, you know, like, you know, the Herman campus? Would it be one resource officer for all of the schools?
Yeah, so
that would travel, you know, or go building to building and area to area. It would be one person in order to do that. And so it wouldn't be like every building would be hiring.
No.
You know, another person. It would be the Herman School District would have one.
Yep.
Okay.
And so the goal is to have his office at the high school, and then he will help out the elementary students whenever their parents can't bring them in. Just he can go and hit a few houses in town and pick kids up and then bring them into better attendance, which is something that the elementary representative who comes into the school, board meetings, that was the first thing she said. She said she loved the idea, but we need this. If this is going to happen, then this is what needs to happen with student attendance, because if we're implementing something to try to better our school, then we need them to be on board with all of the districts. And we haven't really talked with the middle school much. They haven't really given much of an input yet, but I think that they'll be able to use the SRO in more ways than one to better their school as well.
So what would this resource officer be, you know, what would his job description, you know what I'm saying, be? Would he do things such as help administrators with maybe truancy, you know, or those kind of things?
Yeah, and that's kind of our goal right now, is for them to help with truancy and have the SRO kind of just be there for teachers if they need help with a behavioral issue to, especially in the mornings. That's, in my opinion, what I've noticed is a lot of drug use in schools tends to happen in the mornings when not all the teachers are there and students are coming off into the commons and the buses and coming in the morning. That's a lot of when I notice it happening just as a student. So I can only imagine what teachers see whenever they're
Sure.
doing their patrolling and everything. But I think he'll be there as a resource to students and to teachers, and his main goal will be to make sure that everything kind of runs smoothly in the school district.
You know, there's so many issues there in regard, to alcohol and drugs, and not necessarily to categorize those things, but we've just passed some things in the state of Missouri, such as marijuana, that will have an impact.
Yeah.
It will have an impact, even though I think 21 years old is what the law is supposed or does say. It will still have an impact on marijuana use, at a younger age, and that's concerning. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's concerning to me as an adult, because you realize that these are things, same as alcohol, that young people shouldn't be exposed to,
Exactly.
or use on a basis that can harm them. You know what I'm saying, or get them addicted at a very young age. So that in itself, I think, is a reason to educate students on why not to use that first drug, and heaven forbid, like I know it's out there, fentanyl and all the other things that are there. It's a concerning thing.
It is concerning.
And you know that that's available just everywhere, because they every day on the news they've got bags and bags and truckloads of fentanyl and little bitty pills that is accessible to just about everybody, and it's very dangerous. So,
and when I'm on social media, I'm a teenager, I have tons of social media platforms, but it was interesting to see teenagers my own age and kids that I know give their input about the passing of that law, because it was overwhelming how many people were for it and how many teenagers were over the moon about this law passing. And in my mind, I'm thinking, you're 16, 17 years old. It should not have this big of an effect on you, and it shouldn't be this big of a good, it shouldn't be a good thing for you, because you're opening yourself up, and it's
yes, but it's it is one of those particular things about being a youth is crime against society. And to basically push back on parental guidance, on school teachers advice for law enforcement, for it all. They just want these freedoms, what I'm saying, that they think that they're entitled to. Well, they are entitled to freedom, to have freedom, but only as the law prescribes.
Exactly.
So as far as I'm concerned, an 18-year-old using marijuana is an illegal thing and should be prosecuted, what I'm saying, in those particular ways. But the society is going to push back on that, because they said, it's only marijuana, or it's only this. They're 18 years old in a few years, so the laws get watered down, and not that the law necessarily does, but the prosecution of those get watered down. I mean, just as this marijuana law was, everybody that was you know, had a record, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Again, or for marijuana of some type in this law, everybody that had a record in regard to that, the record was cleared of that. And yeah, I think, you know, if you're 18 and or 20 or whatever you are, 21, and you have one joint, you know what I'm saying, or whatever it is, and you get caught with that, that's one thing. The problem of it is, in our court system, is that you have pushers and you have people that make drugs available to an awful lot of other people, that during, you know, the legal process, those things get written down, you know what I'm saying, to a minor, you know, situation, and they could have been legitimately pushers, you know what I'm saying, of other things, and, you know, the record basically says, you know, okay, you had an illegal drug with you, and it might be much worse than that.
Yeah, and it only takes one, and I know it's all about making mistakes as a teenager, and that's the time for you to make mistakes, but some mistakes you cannot take back, and there's some things that you just can't undo. And if you take that one step into drugs and alcohol, there's no telling if you're going to come back out. It's really hard to come back out, and there's people who try to every day and they can't because they're addicted, and they just can't go back. And I think that's one thing that students need to understand, and that's what I'm hoping this SRO can teach students, is that it only takes one, and it can affect, it doesn't just affect you, it can affect the people around you, and you can hurt the people around you, and that's not what you want to do. You want you want to help people, and you don't want your own actions to hurt other people.
No, I mean, you would hope not, you know, and that's what we're all trying to avoid, you know, there's no question. So, you know, this person that on the DARE program, they used to have this car all, you know, painted up, and it was the DARE program, and, you know, when school wasn't in, they were advocates, you know what I'm saying, for that program, you know, giving talks, you know, to fraternal organizations, to organizations to let people know what was going on. They were very active in like parades and those things, just to let people know, you know what I'm saying, that they were working. Would this officer, you know, also be out there as a community sustainable resource to make people aware that we do have this?
Well, yeah, and I'd hope that's what they'd want to do, is share the program and share their impact on it. But with having the SRO being a part-time officer, they can get pulled out from the police department anytime while they're in the district. So if there's a really bad accident in town and they need all hands on deck, he can get pulled anytime. And he'll be there during summer school hours, and he'll be there to help, but during the summer he'll just be patrolling, and he'll be on the roads and everything. So he'll still be doing his duties at the Herman Police Department, but I would hope that he'd be more than happy to come out to football games and help with security for that as well, and any programs that we put on. If our FCCLA has an event going on, he'd be there to make sure everything went well.
You know, I would reach out, and maybe you have already, but you may want to consider reaching out to the sheriff's office, you know, because that's county-wide, you know, and, you know, I know that Owensville, you know what I'm saying, are just as concerned. You know, I don't know that they have anybody at your level working at these things, but reach out to the sheriff or the county commission and let them know what your needs are to get, you know, more people aware of what you're asking for, because it is our tax dollars, and we should have a say in those particular things. So I think you picked a great time, you know, Haley, to bring forth these needs, and I think you're probably the right person to deliver the message.
I try. I think this is something that we need, and I reached out to Officer Finley, who is the SRO at Owensville, and he was super helpful, and he helped me talk with Randy Blasky, and I was able to get the memorandum of understanding from Owensville, and I actually have Washington's now too, thanks to my superintendent. So
You've been working the circle, girl.
oh yeah, I've been making moves, and at first I knew this was going to be a really hard topic, and it was going to be really difficult, but I didn't understand what I was getting myself into until I jumped head first into the water, and
now you're swimming.
now I'm swimming. Yeah, we're getting there, but it's
And sometimes you got to put the backstroke in just for a little bit. You know what I'm saying?
And this has kind of been my coasting week. I've been kind of just making sure I get everything set up the right way for competition time, but I've been putting blood, sweat, and tears into this project, and I don't plan on stopping. It's not going to stop after I compete, I can tell you that much. I'm going to keep going, and it's going to happen.
I don't think so. Ms. Sunfield, I don't think that there's any question that you will produce results here, because you know your motivation is correct. Your analogies of what's going on is correct, and I think the timing is right also. So, you know, you will have eventually success. It's hard to always anticipate when that's coming down the road, but I think that you will absolutely, you know, see that. So, what will be your next step? You know, what do you have to do? I never really went through your, because I didn't bring my glasses along. But let me just ask, your biggest obstacle is what?
So right now our biggest obstacle is funding, and it's hard trying to find people who are willing to offer that money, because it's touch and go with this, and this SRO could be really successful, and that's what we want, but it could just as easily go downhill. And I was talking to one of our board members, Mike Pratt, and at one of the districts, I guess, that he was a part of, he talked about their SRO.
Mike from New Haven?
I believe, maybe,
okay.
Yeah, maybe. But he talked about how they had this SRO, and it was really good, and he was really good at what he did, but it was just a matter of students trusting him, and you have to find just the right person.
You do.
And it's going to be really hard to find just the right person, and that's another one of our obstacles, is making sure that the person that the school board picks is the right fit for our school district. And that's not saying that it can't be trial and error, but we can't get super greedy at that point. Once we have this, you know, we have limited time to make sure everything gets set up, and we can't be too greedy with what we want, but we have to be just greedy enough to make sure that it's right for our school district.
I think that's spot on. You know, like Finley.
Bryn, officer.
We've known him a long time.
You're
You know what I'm saying? You know, he has been you know, that's been a perfect fit. You know, it's been a perfect fit for the kids and the adults that know him, and he's passionate about what he does, and I know that he's successful, you know, in doing and making his objectives, and it you know, Haley, it always is all about the person, you know, to a big thing, you know, it is. So, well, and then your partners here.
Yeah.
Your partners are, who are your partners?
So we have Gasconade County R1, the school board. They have been absolutely amazing. They have given me countless opportunities to talk about what I want and what I want to make successful for our district. Officer Finley, like I said, Rainey Blasky, Herman City Hall is amazing. Mr. Stutzman has been super helpful, but the person who tops the cake is obviously Miss Kelling. She takes the cake.
Well, we know her.
Oh, yeah.
And she baked a good one.
She makes a good cake, she does. But she has been nothing but supportive, and this is not the first time I've competed with an event. I've done this since my freshman year. And when she came in and she told us about STAR events, which is students taking action with recognition, there are these competitive events that students compete in, and that they do a community service project, or they just do something to better their community. And she came in and she told us about them, and she entered us in. Half of us didn't even know we were competing that day, to be honest.
Really?
But we did it, and it was awesome. And that year that I did it, my freshman year, it was 2020, so it was COVID year, so everything was virtual. But it was still amazing, and I would do it again in a heartbeat. I loved it, and it's opened my eyes, and it's set me in the path that I want to go down for my career, and without her, none of it would have been possible.
Well, that's saying a lot, and you know, I know that you have a lot of support, you know.
I do, yeah.
Mr. Terry, I talk with
Obviously, yeah.
him and go to church with him, and he texts me, and I don't do a lot of texting, but you know, for people I know, he's on the church board with me. I did respond to him. He said he wanted to make sure that I took good care of Haley, and my response was, Charlie takes care of all of it. We got a great team here, you know, at the White Mule, and I appreciate your work and your passion, and if you want to get things done, give it to a good lady or a good girl, you know, that is motivated to get it done, and it'll be so.
It's gonna happen.
It'll be so. So as you conclude with this, you're a junior now, a little bit about where you're headed to, where you want to go to college, and what do you want to do?
So I'm a part of the A+ program at our high school, which is an awesome program.
It is an awesome program.
Students can do volunteer hours, and they do A+ tutoring, and they get a 2-year scholarship, and it pays for everything except for books and housing. So I plan to use that to go to ECC and get my Gen Ed, and then I'm going to transfer to Missouri State University. It's I fell in love with it the second I toured it. I fell in love with their program and everything.
Where's this at, Warren?
It's in Springfield, Missouri.
okay,
Yeah.
okay.
But I absolutely fell in love with it. The campus is amazing. The people are amazing. The atmosphere is great. I follow them on social media. They are so supportive of their different clubs and their different communities within the campus, and I love it. I'm going to go there, and I'm going to get my bachelor's degree in social working, and after that I plan to be a district social worker. And then I kind of hope to open my own practice.
What is a district social worker, like in a school district?
Yeah, so my job will be to be the social worker for the school district, and I'll help troubled students and students with behavioral issues, but I'll also help with like backpack programs and community Christmas and things along those lines.
What's a backpack program?
So yeah, the backpack program is, it's changed a little bit. It kind of varies on school district, but you can bring in canned goods and everything for families and different things like that. And the community will provide, like if our food pantry helps give it out to families, or you can quite literally fill a backpack with food and
sure.
Utensils.
Whatever current needs are.
Whatever needs are. And right now, my FFA chapter, we're doing a cozy drive, and that's going straight back to the community, and other girls are doing certain things. And like with FCCLA, we have one group who made St. Nick kits, and they were cookie kits, and students could buy them and take them home, or they could come in and we'd have like a little Christmas party for the little elementary kids, and they could make their cookies with their parents and grandparents and just have a blast. And
so Lana kind of sat with you my backpack program.
yeah, she did. So,
and golly, gingerbread
and then we have Springerly cookies.
Springerly cookies. You remember when Grandma used to make them?
Yeah.
And you know, the longer that they sit, the better they are. You know, I remember we put them in a
Jar.
Mom used to put them in a big
Keep 'em
gallon
in the-
jar, and
keep 'em in the
it was the
garage.
last kind of cookies, you know,
Yeah.
that we had, you know, because I, you know, didn't serve them all the time. But you know, they get harder, you know what I'm saying? And used to come home off the bus and, oh, the Springerling. So you'd go in and grab a handful and put them in your coat pocket.
Yeah.
Because they were indestructible. You
Yeah.
could kind of, you know, suck on them as you do the chores. So,
Yeah.
you know, it's a good German recipe.
Yeah, and this is one of the things that Miss Kelling does is she partners with Sugar Mamas, which is a little candy shop in Herman, and they make German cookies for Christmas, and they pass them out and sell them, and we get a big kick out of them. The students love them. It's a fun time for them. It's a great way for the class just to bond and over something as simple as cookies. It's awesome.
Neat packaging, there's no question about
Oh
it.
yeah,
And
she made sure that it was perfect.
well, you I totally understand that, and just tell her that the only way to make them any more perfect if she would set milk.
Sounds good. I'll let her know.
So we are talking with Haley Sunfield, who is an incredible young lady that has taken on an initiative here to make a big change in her community, being an advocate and for a school resource officer, which is a very, in my opinion, a very easy thing to get behind, without a doubt, and has did an awful lot of work and setting it up to this juncture, and we support her without a doubt, and want to make sure that we can do everything we can do to have success. Now I know our radio station goes, Sullivan, New Haven area, Herman. I don't know if it goes all the way down to Herman sometimes, but I do know this, that there's a lot of people listening that would like for this to come about. So just support her, just support this great idea, and make sure that we support our kids and do the right thing, because even though we've been extremely fortunate, to this juncture, it's not about the big events. It's about, life is about that process, that we go through, and we're blessed not to have, shootings and those kind of things. But, if you understand the process, you do understand that there are kids in harm's way each and every day with different kind of circumstances, drugs and alcohol, and maybe abusive situation at home, that absolutely needs somebody working on their behalf on a constant basis. And this is what this local resource person can do to tie those kids and tie society to their needs, and bring other things that are sustainable to help them through these troubled times.
Absolutely.
So you're doing a great job, and we're talking here again to Haley Sunfield on KTUI 1560 AM, 94.1 FM, or possibly watching Facebook Live. And we're going to take a little break here, and Gracie's going to sing some Christmas carols.
Only if you help. Not much going on. Next couple weeks we have Christmas going on. This Friday night at the White Mule, we will be serving chicken parm, our steaks, beef kebabs, grilled shrimp, and country fried steak from 5 until 8:30. Saturdays, pizza, wings, and hamburgers from noon until 5, and then our steaks after that until 8:30. And then Sunday is all you can eat pan-fried chicken from 11 until 3:30. Next Sunday is Christmas. So
It is? You got
is.
my shopping done?
I do not.
You want my list?
No. I know what I'm gonna give you. But
You want my list for Mom?
I will take that.
Okay,
yes,
all
I will
right,
take
there
that.
you go.
We will be closed Saturday and Sunday for Christmas Eve and Christmas Day, but we will be open Friday, the 23rd. So.
Very good.
And if you have not yet,
we have been blessed and very busy. We're doing a lot of Christmas parties here. We still have room, and a lot of people are going into the next year. A lot of businesses with Christmas and celebration, because there just gets to be so much right now this time of the year. But if you're still planning on a Christmas party or family get together for Christmas party, give Grace a holler. We'll do everything we can, and we'll accommodate you. There's
yes.
no question.
And we do still have some spots open for New Year's Eve if you're interested, so give us a call.
But pretty quickly,
we're
the way
getting
that
pretty
looked to me, because we're
Yeah.
going to limit that. Although what we're going to do this year, that sometimes we haven't did. We know that a lot of people don't want to stay all night, for the music, anymore. They just want to come out and have a dinner. So aren't you starting early?
4:30 until
4:30.
8:30.
We're going to start serving. That way, we can put some people through here. They can have a nice dinner, and then leave before the band starts or whenever. And that way we can seat more people. So we definitely got room for the early crowd
Yes.
yet that we can handle, and we'll work it out. We'll get it done. So, what else you got?
That's all I have.
I'll
We'll be back next week.
We will be back next week, and who we have next week? Okay,
We'll
week
find
after
somebody.
next we got real estate. I know that.
Yes.
Coming. What is next week in regard to? Let's see, Christmas is on.
Christmas is on Sunday, so
Yeah, okay,
Thursday will be the
so,
22nd.
okay.
We'll have somebody.
Already. Well, Haley can come back anytime. you know?
I'd be more than happy to. I like chocolate.
You get out of school with us?
Heck yeah, I did. I got to skip the ASVAB today, so gotta take it next
Well-
year, but you know, it's okay.
You're an incredible young lady. God bless you, and you will be very successful in anything that we can ever do, to help you along with your endeavors. Please let us know, and I would expect that when you're successful with this, that you come back
Absolutely.
and let us know how it's going for you.
Absolutely. Thank you guys so much for having me.
Haley, a pleasure to meet you, and great to have you along here today, and hopefully we've raised the level of your knowledge about school and resource officers to another degree. It is an important thing that we continue to invest in our youth, and this is a great idea to do it. God bless you, and we're planning on seeing you next week. Have a good week.